Welcome to the dairies of science fiction, where extraordinary stories come to life. Enjoy the journey. She had always imagined the end would be quick. A snap of teeth, a careless step, maybe a bored flick of a finger from a species that measured distance in strides instead of heartbeats. That was what the instructors said during survival lectures, their holograms looming far larger than necessary. Humans do not notice you, they warned. And if they do notice you, that is worse. Now the end had arrived, and it was slow. Painfully slow. She stood frozen on the smooth metallic plane, once a research table, now an endless landscape to her, staring up at the human man. He was a vertical continent of fabric and skin, his breath a shifting weather system. Each inhale bent the air. Each exhale threatened to knock her flat. Her long ears, traitors that they were, trembled visibly, broadcasting terror like antennae. She told herself not to scream. Screaming attracted attention. Attention was bad. Attention got you eaten. The man's foot hovered nearby, massive, suspended. It did not come down. Instead, it retreated. Slowly. So slowly that her fear had time to become confused. Then the giant did something utterly unthinkable. He stopped moving. Completely, the silence stretched. No crushing impact. No sudden shadow. Just a human statue locked mid-motion, arms half raised as if gravity itself had issued a warning. His eyes were wide, pupils contracting as internal scanners flickered to life, invisible to her but humming faintly through the table beneath her feet. "Oh," he said. His voice arrived like distant thunder carefully wrapped in cotton. "Oh no. No, no, no. Okay, I see you." She nearly fainted. He saw her. This was worse. This was always worse. She braced herself, tiny hands clenched, mind racing through the final prayers of her people, most of which were short, practical, and deeply pessimistic. If you must die, die intact. If you cannot die intact, die fast. Instead, the human bent. Not quickly. Not smoothly. He lowered himself with exaggerated care, joints whining as if protesting the concept of gentleness. Each movement was announced aloud, as though narrating a disaster documentary. "I'm going to kneel now," he said, very slowly. "If at any point this feels too dramatic, feel free to yell." Yell, she almost laughed. The sound would never reach him. His face descended until one enormous eye aligned roughly with her position. She stared back, heart hammering. The eye blinked once deliberately like a system reboot. "Wow," he murmured. "You are extremely small." She shut her eyes, waiting for the inevitable. Nothing happened. When she dared to look again, he was smiling, nervous, apologetic, as if she were the one who might swallow him whole. Time stretched into something fragile, like a glass filament pulled too thin. She realized with a distant sort of offense that she was still alive. The human remained frozen, except for the subtle tremor running through his muscles. It occurred to her that holding still at his scale might actually be difficult, like balancing a moon on a fingertip. The table beneath her vibrated faintly as his internal devices adjusted, soft clicks, low pulses, technology whispering to itself. "Okay," he said again, quieter this time. "Rule 1, no breathing hurricanes." He inhaled through his nose with such exaggerated restraint that his chest barely moved. The effort made his eyes cross slightly. She noticed before she could stop herself, and a hysterical snort escaped her. The sound was microscopic, insignificant, but he heard it. His face lit up with relief so intense it startled her more than fear ever had. "Oh, thank everything measurable. You're conscious. And laughing, that's good, right? Laughing is good." She swallowed. Her translator implant crackled to life, finally sinking, projecting her voice outward in a thin, carefully amplified thread. "If you eat me," she said, trembling, "I will be very difficult to digest." He stared, then he laughed, carefully, silently at first, shoulders shaking in restrained amusement. "Noted," he said. "I'll put that under strongly discouraged." She didn't know what to do with that. He shifted one finger, lifting it slowly away from the surface. The sudden absence of vibration made her stumble. Instantly, he froze again, finger suspended midair like a hovering shuttle. Sorry, sorry. No sudden weather changes, he muttered. You okay? She straightened, offended by her own wobble. I am not a decorative object, she snapped, and I am absolutely not food. Great, he said, we're aligned. A soft blue lattice flickered into existence between them as he activated a localized containment field, its edges humming gently. The air stilled. The temperature stabilized. For the first time since arriving on this world, her ears stopped trembling. She noticed the human watching them. Her ears. Please don't stare at those, she said. They're not handles. I was just thinking how evolution is wildly creative, he said, then winced. That sounded better in my head. Against her will, a tiny laugh escaped her again. Fear still wrapped tight around her ribs, but something else had crept in alongside it. Confusion. And impossibly curiosity. He leaned back a fraction, giving her space that must have felt enormous to him. I'm going to sit, he announced solemnly. This is me sitting, no swallowing, no crushing, no tragic misunderstandings. She watched him lower himself to the floor, each movement careful, controlled, deliberate. A giant choosing to be smaller. Her entire education had failed to prepare her for that. Maybe, she thought, the end wasn't coming at all, and somehow that was far more terrifying. Silence settled again, but it was a different kind now, padded and cautious, like both of them were afraid a loud thought might shatter it. She paced 3 steps, stopped, then paced them again, as if the ground might suddenly remember it was not meant for someone her size. The containment field hummed politely around her, a courtesy bubble. She hated how much she appreciated it. You're very calm, she said at last. I am absolutely not, the human replied. I'm just committing very hard to the illusion. She glanced up. He was sitting cross-legged on the floor now, hands resting flat on his knees, fingers spread as if to prove they were not plotting anything. A soft glow traced his wrists where interface bands fed him data. His eyes flicked occasionally to invisible readouts, then snapped back to her, like a child trying not to look at a surprise gift. You haven't screamed, she said. That is statistically unusual. He considered this. I did scream internally. Several times. One of them was very high-pitched. Against her better judgment, she smiled. Her translator adjusted again, smoothing the edges of her voice. Why haven't you contained me, captured me, put me in a box and labeled it? Oh, I have boxes, he said quickly. So many boxes, this is not a box situation. He tapped his temple. First contact protocol says no sudden movements, no ownership language, and definitely no jars. Jars, she repeated flatly. Long story, ends badly for everyone. She stopped pacing. You are not afraid I will attack you. He glanced down at his own size, then back at her. With what sarcasm? She bristled. I am lethal under the right circumstances. I believe you, he said immediately. You look extremely capable, terrifying even in a portable way. She snorted before she could stop herself. Her ears twitched, then stilled when she realized he noticed. Sorry, he said. I'm not supposed to comment on biological features. You already did, she said, twice. Right, I'm failing up. A faint vibration rippled through the room as distant machinery powered up. She flinched. Instantly, his hand lifted, palm out, and the field around her thickened, filtering the tremor to nothing. There, he said gently. Nothing touches you without permission. The words hit harder than any threat ever had. Her world had always taught her that giants did not ask. She exhaled slowly, then met his gaze. If you wanted to hurt me, she said, you already would have. Yeah, he said softly. But if I wanted to protect you, I'd have to try a lot harder. Something fragile shifted between them, thin as filament, strong as steel. She sat down. The human smiled like he'd just witnessed a miracle, and for once she didn't feel small at all. She decided, after a long internal debate, that if she was going to die, she would at least do so with accurate information. What are you? She asked. The human blinked. Rude but fair, I'm human. She stared. That is not an answer. That is a category label. Right, okay. He shifted slightly, then froze again as if remembering himself. I'm a xenobiologist. Sort of, I study things that absolutely do not want to be studied. Voluntarily, with consent, ideally. She folded her arms. You realize how unlikely that sounds. Yeah, he admitted. I say it out loud sometimes and regret my career choices. Her implant pulsed as it absorbed the unfamiliar term. Xenobiologist. Her people had a word for that. It translated roughly to curious fool who survives by luck. And this place, she asked. Mobile research vessel, he said. Currently parked on a rock that failed to become a planet, very exclusive. She glanced around, at the smooth surfaces, the quiet lights embedded in the walls, the soft pulses of alien yet not technology. You live here alone. Mostly, he said. There's an AI, but she judges me. A pause, then from somewhere in the air itself a calm voice spoke. Statistically, he deserves it. She yelped and stumbled backward. I forgot to warn you about her, the human said quickly. Sorry, this is not an ambush, this is just commentary. I am not prey, she snapped at the empty space. Noted, the AI replied. You are currently classified as extremely important. Do not breathe on. She looked up at the human. Is that a standard classification? It is now. Despite herself, she laughed. The sound surprised her. It felt rusty, unused. The human noticed. He smiled, then caught himself and softened it, as if afraid even his expression might loom too large. You're safe here, he said. No experiments, no cages, no heroic misunderstandings. My people would not believe this, she said. Mine wouldn't either, he replied. They'd ask how you fit in my pocket. She glared. I do not fit in pockets. Fair, bad example. Jackets are off the table. Another tremor rippled through the ship as thrusters adjusted. She flinched again, but less this time. The containment field compensated instantly, smoothing reality around her. You designed all this, she said quietly, for someone like me. He hesitated. I designed it for someone who shouldn't have to be afraid. The statement settled between them, heavy but warm. She sat, then lay back, ears resting against the ground at last. If you betray me, she said, eyes half closed, I will haunt your species' mythology. I'd expect nothing less, he said. And for the first time since leaving her world, she slept without dreaming of teeth. She woke to the sound of water behaving badly. It was a distant, rhythmic slosh, accompanied by the human muttering apologies to inanimate objects. She opened one eye, then the other, ears lifting cautiously. The containment field dimmed as her implant registered consciousness, adjusting to her movements like a polite servant pretending not to watch. The human was crouched several body lengths away, an absurd distance to him, a respectful ocean to her, holding a transparent cylinder the size of a tower. Inside it, water trembled, threatening rebellion. I am attempting hydration, he said without looking at her. This is harder than it looks when the margin for error is measured in tidal waves. You are doing it wrong, she said. He froze. I knew it. She sat up, stretching, then pointed. You are compensating too much. Your hands are steady, but your confidence is not. I'm pouring water for a being who could drown in a tear, he said. Confidence left the building. She sighed, stood, and walked closer to the edge of the field. Angle at 3 degrees. Reduce flow rate. Stop narrating. He did as instructed. The water settled, obedient at last. There, she said. Now it is drinkable, not apocalyptic. He exhaled. You're incredible. Obviously. He activated a microdispersion nozzle, and a perfect droplet detached itself, hovering in the air before drifting gently toward her. She watched it with suspicion. If this explodes, she warned, I will be very upset. It will not explode, the AI said. I triple-checked. She glared upward. You enjoy this. Immensely. She drank. The water was cool, clean, threaded with trace minerals unfamiliar but pleasant. Life, in a sensible amount. She realized distantly that she trusted them not to poison her. That realization startled her more than anything else so far. The human leaned back, relief written all over him. Okay, Hydration achieved, no casualties. You may survive another cycle, she said graciously. He grinned. High praise. They talked after that, slowly, about her people who lived in layered cities grown rather than built, about humans who apparently built things first and asked questions later. She learned that his name was Elias, and he learned that hers translated poorly, roughly meaning she who refused to be stepped on. Your parents were optimistic, he said. They were realistic, she replied. At one point, a small service drone drifted too close. She stiffened. Before fear could take hold, Elias gently redirected it with a single finger, shielding her with his body without thinking. The gesture was casual, unremarkable. And that was what made it extraordinary. Later, as artificial lights dimmed to simulate night, she realized she was laughing freely now, ears relaxed, fear no longer clawing at every breath. The giant was still a giant. He was simply choosing not to be. The alarm did not scream. It chimed politely as if apologizing for existing at all. Elias stiffened. She noticed immediately. Giants, she had learned, were terrible at hiding worry. It leaked out of them in posture and breath. The containment field around her brightened without instruction. That's new, he said. That is definitely new. What does polite danger sound like? She asked, like that. The AI's voice followed, calm and far too cheerful. External instability detected. Hull-adjacent microfracture expanding. Probability of sudden decompression. Low. Probability of dramatic inconvenience. Moderate. She stared upward. Define dramatic. I cannot, the AI replied. It varies by species. The floor trembled, sharper this time. Not the gentle hum of engines, but a shudder that rippled through the metal plane beneath her feet. Her ears snapped upright, every instinct screaming old lessons back into her mind. Run, hide, be small, be unnoticed. Elias moved instantly, not fast, controlled. He shifted, placing himself between her and the far wall as it rippled inward, plating flexing under pressure. His hand hovered near her, close enough to block wind, far enough not to intrude. I'm going to move you, he said, voice steady. Not with my hands, with the field. You'll feel like you're floating. That's normal. If it's not normal, tell me and I will panic quietly. She swallowed. I dislike floating. Same. The containment field thickened, then lifted her gently as the floor buckled. She rose, heart hammering, the world tilting. A sudden hiss tore through the air as atmosphere rushed toward the breach. She would have been gone in an instant. Instead, Elias curved around her, his body becoming a wall, the field locking her safely in the pocket of stillness behind him. Wind howled past, tugging at his clothes, flattening his hair. AI, he said, shouting now options. Sealing bulkheads, the AI replied. Also suggesting you stop being directly heroic. It is inefficient. Noted. She watched him brace himself, muscles straining, boots anchoring to the floor as emergency gravity surged. He was enormous, unyielding, careful. The breach sealed with a thunderous clang. Silence rushed back in, heavy and sudden. Elias sagged, then laughed breathlessly. Okay, nobody swallowed, nobody crushed, 10 out of 10. Her containment field lowered, setting her gently back down. Her hands were shaking. You could have let the field carry me away, she said. He looked at her, genuinely confused. Away where? She didn't have an answer. The AI cleared its non-existent throat. For the record, that maneuver increased risk to the human by 42%. Elias shrugged, worth it. She stared at him, at the absurdity of a being who could end her without noticing, choosing, again and again, to protect instead. Her voice was quiet when she spoke. My people say strength reveals itself in crisis. He smiled tiredly. Yeah, what does it do? She met his gaze, ears relaxed, fear finally loosening its grip. It chooses. The ship healed itself with quiet efficiency, panels knitting, systems settling back into their careful rhythms. Crisis passed, filed away as data. What lingered was something far less manageable. She sat at the edge of the table again, legs dangling over the drop, watching Elias recalibrate the containment field. He moved with practiced ease now, confidence replacing the earlier stiffness. He still narrated, though. "Adjusting field density," he said. "Not because you need it, because I do." She smiled. It came easily these days. "You humans talk too much." "We're nervous mammals with tools," he replied. "Talking is how we avoid biting things." The AI hummed overhead. "Statistically inaccurate, biting still occurs." "Traitor," Elias muttered. They had spent cycles together now. Long conversations broken by laughter, by misunderstandings, by shared silence that no longer felt sharp. Her fear had not vanished, but it had changed shape. It no longer ruled her movements. It no longer decided who he was. "I have transmitted my report," she said quietly. Elias paused. "To your people." She nodded. "They will be confused." "That tracks. I told them you are dangerous," she continued. "Extremely." He winced. "I knew it." "Because," she said, "you choose not to be." He considered that, then nodded once. "Fair." Her retrieval signal pulsed softly at her back, a faint glow. The ship's sensors had already mapped the rendezvous vector, calculated scale conversions, safety margins. Science fiction solutions to a problem that felt deeply personal. "You could stay," Elias said, carefully casual. "We could build something permanent. A habitat, a city. I'm very good at over-engineering." She laughed. "I know." She stood, straightening, ears high. "But my people need to hear this from me. They need to see that giants can kneel." He knelt anyway, lowering himself until his eyes were level with her. "Then come back," he said. "With them, or without, this place will still be here. I will still be not biting things." The retrieval field enveloped her, light folding space gently around her small form. She felt the pull, the familiar weightlessness. She hesitated. "You know," she said, "when I first saw you, I was certain you would swallow me whole." He smiled. "I get that a lot." "You didn't," she said. "You saw me." Something in his expression softened, settled. As the light lifted her away, she raised a hand in farewell. He raised one finger in return, held still, careful to the end. Later, alone on his ship, Elias resumed his work. Data flowed, systems hummed, the AI watched him. "You are smiling," it observed. "Yeah," he said. "I think I met someone who changed how I see the universe." "Statistically," the AI replied, "the universe remains unchanged." He laughed. "That's okay." Somewhere between worlds, she smiled too, no longer afraid of shadows, carrying with her a truth big enough to reshape civilizations. That strength was not measured